All right, we're gonna jump right into this. Do something a little bit different this time around. A reaction video to some heat that Layla Ali put up there on Claressa Shields, basically talking about her character and pretty much where their beef originated from. So this video I'm gonna show, I believe it's on Layla Ali's YouTube channel. I'm assuming it's her YouTube channel because of the name Layla Ali KO. I haven't gone over there other than just this video here. So you can go ahead and check out the full video without me pausing it and giving my take in between on that YouTube channel. But let's go ahead and jump into this real quick.
There has been a whole lot of talk about the possibility of me making a comeback to boxing. And people have had a lot to say, but I have not addressed it until now. And I know everyone wants to know the answer to the question, will I be coming back?
I don't want to know the answer to the question. I'm not interested in Layla Ali coming back, man. Layla Ali's what, 47, 48 years old? Claressa Shields is 30. Like, all you cats out there that are like, man, you know, Layla Ali versus Claressa Shields, that'll be a dope ass fight, dog. I'm paying for that. This shit's garbage, man. Layla Ali hasn't fought in like 19 years or some shit like that, man. She's been retired for more than 15 years. I know that off top of my dome, dog. So being retired more than 15 years, becoming a mother, becoming a businesswoman. She even mentioned that in the past that she didn't have the same drive to continue boxing, right? She had moved on to a different part of her life. She doesn't have that um that motivation to do this. Now, maybe Claressa Shields could be motivation for that, but still, age, you know, time is always, father time always wins, basically, right? 47 years old, you haven't really boxed under the bright lights in over a decade. That's not a, that's it's a handicap match. At that point, it's a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson type of fucking exhibition. I don't want to see that, man.
And I promise you, I'm going to give you that answer. But first, I have got to address the lies and the fake narrative that's been created years ago. Now, someone's gotten way too comfortable dragging my name and even using my father's name to get attention and clout. Now, in case you haven't heard it, her story is that I didn't support her and I didn't pass the torch because of my jealousy and envy over her accomplishments in boxing. She says that I disrespected her and I started talking about knocking her out simply because I was bitter that she's outdone me. I've seen a lot of the comments. Many of you have good discernment and understand what's really going on here, while others have believed her lies over the years or have formed an opinion without having all the facts. Now, originally, I wasn't even going to give this my time or attention because I really don't engage with people who thrive off of negativity, drama, and buffoonery.
100% agree with that. The thing is with Claressa Shields, and I'm gonna say this, and Cass can get mad, niggas can get upset. It is what it is. You know, I don't give a fuck, man. Claressa Shields is part of what's called the rat community, dog. She is basically, um, she is the epitome or of what people, basically what people see black women are when they're most majority of black women are not that. You know what I'm saying? Now, Claressa Shields is an excellent fighter. She's successful, right? She's turned boxing into something that she can monetize, and it became, you know, something in which it became a primary stream of income for her, and she's extremely successful with that. I'm not knocking that, but at the end of the day, her character traits and the way that she portrays herself, those are the things that people look down upon when it comes to black women, bro. She embodies that shit. And this is what Layla Ali's talking about. There's a stark contrast between Layla Ali's character, right, and who she is and her morals and her values, or at least how she puts forth her morals and her values, and what Claressa Shields, who she is, her characters, and what she puts forth as her morals and her values. There's a stark contrast there, man. It's all about upbringing.
But I'm not about to let someone with bad character continue running freely, dragging my name without accountability.
That's not gonna happen.
Come on now, listen. Layla Ali is just Muhammad Ali's daughter. And
No, come on, we ain't gonna do that.
No, that is right.
Come on, come on, Layla can rumble though.
and Wolf would have knocked Layla Ali out. You know, she would have knocked Layla oh so pretty ass out.
So part of that I agree with. I've always said, and guys that have followed my channel for a while now on the ins and outs of it, I've always said Layla Ali would have gotten her ass knocked out by Ann Wolf. Ann Wolf is that dude, literally. You know what I'm saying? That she got a daughter and shit. I don't know how that happened. Maybe I don't know, man. But at the end of the day, that's that dude right there, bro. Layla Ali would have probably gotten knocked out by Ann Wolf. I don't disagree with that 100%. The part that I have a problem with is her delivery and making that statement. Her oh so pretty ass out. What does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? Are you insecure about how you look? So you're basically trying to say that her beauty, or basically trying to portray her beauty as a negative in your statement. What does that even mean? I mean, just stupid rat community type shit, man.
So this right here is the consequence. Now, I have been busy working on other projects that required all of my time and focus, which is why I'm just now saying something. But honey, I have made the time to address this. So today, the bad guy ain't getting away. Now let's hit rewind, because we really need to see what's happened over the years, what got us here. Now, I'm not about to do the whole he say, she say thing, so let me show you some receipts. I first met her in 2012 when she was invited on stage to stand next to me when I gave my father his Liberty Medal. At some point, she reached out, started asking me for advice, wanted to know if she should go to the Olympics a second time or go pro. She would also call me and let me know when she was fighting. Now, at the time, I was one of the hosts of We Need to Talk, an all-female sports commentary show that still airs on CBS. I asked the producers if we could do a story on her. They agreed. So I got on a plane, flew to Colorado, and did a full sit-down interview with her. Now, this is just a shortened version of the 6-minute piece that aired on CBS in 2016. 21-year-old Claressa Shields is as confident as her right hand is powerful. Soon, Claressa will be heading to Rio for the Olympics to try and do something that has never been done before. I sat down to talk with her about changing history and being a positive spark for her hometown. You should have heard the story by now. The one about a kid from Flint, Michigan, who has gone toe-to-toe with adversity and stands undefeated.
But I'll always go back to Flint and help.
I know that when I was fighting, any of my struggles that I had to overcome, or anything that I was upset about, whether it be something personal or something going on in the world, I would use that anger, and take it into the ring with me and channel that energy into the ring. Have you ever done that?
I did that a lot. I was going through stuff back at home, but I would have a boxing match, and I would take out everything I was going through on the girl, and that kind of helped me, because after I boxed.
I mean, this right here looks like two women who are cordial with each other, right? With one being a bigger sister role, or maybe an auntie role to the other, right? Claressa, if you see in this particular clip, she looks like she's no older than 20, 21, maybe, probably younger than that. Probably younger than that, because I think this is before her second appearance in the Olympics to get that second gold medal that she won. So probably younger than that, right? So she looks like a little kid. She looks like a teenager, while Layla Ali looks like a full-blown, grown woman. She's basically getting her name out there so that people put more eyes on women's boxing, right? One of Claressa Shields' biggest criticisms of Layla Ali is that she doesn't do anything to promote women's boxing. But as this receipt shows right here, she's promoting not only women's boxing, but doing it through via one of the bigger names that she felt at the time, Layla Ali, that is, that's going to help build women's boxing, and that was, or is, Claressa Shields. So she's clearly doing this all the way back to when Claressa Shields is attempting her second run at a gold medal. That's why you bring receipts to a fucking argument, man.
That was my ultimate high, and I felt like my life was perfect for at least 2 weeks. So
Claressa's father, a former underground fighter, was passionate about boxing.
he went on to tell me that Muhammad Ali, his daughter, Laila, took after him. And he's like, and my dad, he says it to this day, Layla's a bad girl. He says all the time. He said, nobody in our family took up boxing. I thought when he told me that, he was telling me to take after him. Claressa beat the odds to win gold in 2012. When the Olympics start in August, she'll try to be the first.
So I'm going to go ahead and move past this, because none of this really matters, right? At the end of the day, she's just showing you that she has receipts, right? Something she says here. Hold
Women's
on.
boxing wasn't even in the Olympics when I was boxing,
Right.
so I'm like, do it for us, because she's in the weight class I would have been in. So I'm like, go get it, girl, go get it. There's a lot of women who have been training for a long time, and nobody knows who they are. So the Olympics just really gives them a platform and something to strive towards. I didn't even fight amateur because I was like, I can't go to the Olympics. Why should I do that? You know, I wanted to be in control of my career. But it's so great to see these young girls coming up. You know, you got 9-year-olds now and 10-year-olds, and they're inspired by people like Claressa.
Now, as you can see,
Bro, that's 100% promotion. That's 100% support for Claressa Shields, 100% promotion for her, what she's doing, her cause, and for the cause of women's boxing. At the end of the day, bro, what Claressa Shields is saying about Laila Ali never supporting her, not promoting women's boxing, this right here, I could stop the video right here if I want to, because that destroys Claressa Shields' entire argument. It's literally one of the bases for why she wants to fight Laila Ali and wants to prove to her that she ain't shit, was never shit, and ain't gonna be shit, right? This is the whole point of that. That, and, you know, what she said, or what she thinks, or how she interpreted anyway, something that Laila Ali says, you know, when we'll see that later on in this video.
I was genuinely rooting for her. I gave her praise. I gave her a spotlight. When she asked for advice, I gave her valuable branding advice and boxing advice so she could have long-term success in and outside of the ring. I told her about the challenges that I faced fighting at 168, where there was limited competition, and I suggested that if she decided to turn pro, she should consider going down in weight somewhere around 148, where she would have more competitive challenges. I told her
that is 1,000,000% facts, bruh. As you guys know, and I got a video on standby for this shit about Claressa Shields' career. You know, I don't take away her accolades of becoming a 3-time undisputed champion, right? I don't take away her accolades for that. However, the level of competition has been slim at best, right? You got a lot of her fan base that follow her, a lot of YNs, a lot of rat community females and shit that follow her, that no matter what she does, it's the greatest thing ever, right? But if you actually have good discernment, you actually know the sport of boxing, you actually follow the sport of boxing, you understand the level of competition that she's fighting, you understand that at the lower levels, right, welterweight, I'd say probably junior, middleweight, and lower, that is where most of the competition is, then you understand that who Claressa Shields has fought is not necessarily a who's who of the sport. She's not fighting top level competition outside of maybe Christina Hammer, Hannah Gabriels, and Savannah Marshall, in my opinion. Franchon Desern Cruz, her very first fight, professional fight, even though she won super middleweight undisputed champion after losing to Claressa Shields in her first fight, she is not a top level fighter. She is literally in the ring just swinging. That's what she does. She has no type of mechanics, fundamentals to her boxing game whatsoever. So getting in the ring with somebody like Claressa Shields, who has top level mechanics, top level fundamentals, and understands the boxing game from an IQ perspective, that is a fucking mismatch, dog. That's not a high level matchup. So like I said, Hannah Gabriels, who's really honestly not an A-level fighter in my opinion. She's on the B- side. Christina Hammer, in my opinion, who also is not necessarily A-level, but she did rule the roost at 160 for a while and holding all those belts. In her situation, there really wasn't much competition back then. We wanted Cecilia Brækhus to move up, or her to move down, or them to come to some sort of agreement to meet in between, probably at 154, so those two could fight, right? When Christina Hammer was running shit at 160 and Cecilia Brækhus was running shit at 147, boxing fans were asking for those two to come together and fight, right? So, and that, of course, that never happened. But Christina Hammer's level of competition was not very good at 160 either. So I wouldn't classify her as a top level fighter, although she was a champion for a while. So you have to give the accolade to Claressa Shields for whooping her ass so early in her career, right? And then you got Savannah Marshall, who actually beat Claressa Shields early on in her amateur career, right? I think out of all the people that Claressa has fought, Savannah Marshall is the best win on her resume. It's not even accolades, it's skill. Best win on her resume in terms of accolades is Christina Hammer. Best win on her resume in terms of skill, Savannah Marshall. But again, that doesn't measure up to the amount or level of competition that is below or at 154, right? And below. And that's exactly what I've always said. Clarissa's got to stop eating fucking donuts, ho-hos, Twinkies, and Hot Pockets and get your ass down to 154 or less. Her actually 147. She mentioned 148. She needs to get down there so she can get more competition. And Claressa has said she can do that, but in her response to that was she basically said, I could do that, but I don't want to lose my ass. It is what it is, man.
She should hire a nutritionist, trim off that excess body fat, and get into elite next level shape. I pointed her in the right direction, and I had high hopes for her. Whether she decided to turn pro or not, I felt like her future was bright if she played her cards right. But of course, at the time, I was not aware of her divisive, vindictive, and malicious nature. And I know those are strong words, but they actually fit. This girl has created a pattern. It's been directed towards many people time and time again. Now, before we started our interview in Colorado, she said to me,
man, I remember the Amanda Serrano shit. Like, the one thing about Amanda Serrano was that I think Claressa fought one professional fight. She fought Franchon Cruz, right? One professional fight, and she was already giving the title of greatest female boxer of all time to Claressa Shields. Amanda Serrano, in my opinion, was way too fucking humble, right? Here's a multi at the time. I think she's an 8 division champion right now, but at the time, I think she was a 7 division champion. Don't quote me. But anyway, she was a multi-division champion, very well-rounded, right? Has been dominating the women's sport for a very long time, along with Cecilia Brækhus, right? So she was literally one of the ones that could have basically said, hey, Claressa, we know you won 2 gold medals coming from the Olympics. Katie Taylor, I believe, won 2 as well. So they were kind of somewhat on the same platform coming into the professional ranks. Claressa Shields has more skill than Katie Taylor does. So she was at the forefront, when those two came into boxing, right? But at the end of the day, Amanda Serrano should have been like, we understand your skill set. We understand your accolades as an amateur. But, I'm one of them top ones here. It's going to take you a little bit of time to be able to overtake me. She didn't do that. She basically conceded the throne to Claressa Shields probably after her first fight. I believe it was after her first fight, man. And I remember us at 3kingsboxing.com was like, that's bullshit, dog. Literally, Amanda Serrano has taken herself out of the running for greatest female fighter of all time when she did that.
Me, you're the name people say when it comes to women's boxing. You're the face they know. I want that to be me. Now, looking back after everything that's unfolded, it seems pretty calculated now. Like she was waiting for the right moment, the right excuse to finally do what she'd already made up her mind to do. I mean, that's how it feels now. She told me she saw me as the face of women's boxing, and she told me that she wanted my spot. And she's been on a mission to ruin my reputation ever since, simply because she heard me make a comment that was not about her and she took it personal. Fast forward to 2018, I was promoting my cookbook, Food for Life, and went on The Breakfast Club, a national show with millions of listeners.
Yeah, so this is going to be the interview right here. And I remember this interview vividly where she basically says something and Claressa Shields 100% misunderstands it. And I'm going to talk about my own actual personal situation with Claressa Shields where I said something and she misunderstood it.
A 36-minute interview, and when the topic of boxing came up, I actually mentioned her and made positive comments. Then much later into the interview, I was asked about the possibility of a comeback.
Would you ever get back in the ring just for fun?
You still train?
I stay training.
Got you.
Yeah, I got a little baby 6-pack right now.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I have a heavy bag hanging in my. I just turned 40.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
No.
I know. I just turned 40. I can't believe it either. And because I think of my healthy lifestyle, the fact that I train all the time, I can pretty much do anything I wanted to. Well, I don't think there's anyone there for me right now that would actually give me a good challenge.
How did you and your husband?
So that right there, I don't think there's anybody there for me that would give me a good challenge. And that's in response to basically her coming back to boxing. Now, I don't believe she threw a shot at Claressa Shields and saying that. I feel like she's not even considering Claressa Shields because at the time that they had this interview, those two were in a good place, right? It's kind of like Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis. They're sitting at 135 together, but Keyshawn Davis has expressed that he does not ever want to fight Shakur Stevenson, right? And it's not because he's afraid of the guy or anything like that. He considers Shakur Stevenson a brother. They train together. They swap, you know, knowledge together between each other and their different styles. So he doesn't want to fight him. There's too much of a relationship there. Me personally, I don't give a fuck about shit like that. You're in the sport of boxing, in the same division. I don't care if y'all are best friends. Y'all need to fight. You know what I'm saying? And many boxers in the past have done that. But at the end of the day, I feel like Laila Ali was not even considering Claressa Shields as somebody on a list of people that could not give her any trouble because she didn't see her as somebody who she would fight. Speculation on my part, but it's actual logical fucking reasoning. If you understand that those, you know, given the receipt that you saw earlier in this video, given how Laila Ali really moves, right, in the past and even now, and how she's always basically supported some of the better fighters of women's boxing today, right? And even of yesteryear, like she was supporting Cecilia Brækhus at one point, Amanda Serrano, right? She supported women in women's boxing well after she retired. So given her track record and the receipt that she provided earlier in this video, you can easily ascertain or determine that she's not talking about Claressa Shields when she says, I don't think anybody right now could give me a challenge. If she were to come back at this time at 40 years old, it was probably for like a big fight or a couple of fights to get some dough, bro. It wasn't going to be a comeback where she's sitting there at 168 or even 160 or 175 and just fighting for like 10 more fucking years, collecting belts between the 2 or 3 different divisions and fighting everybody that came her way. That was not going to be the case. She was already a mother, a businesswoman. She had already went through that phase where boxing, you know, she was done with it. She even said the reason why she retired is because there wasn't a challenge. There was one in Ann Wolfe, but I digress. That's how she felt. So Claressa Shields was not a part of that, man. But again, Claressa, she's not very bright. She's not very smart, right? And she's very, very immature. At 30 years old right now, she's extremely immature. Back then, 7, 8 years ago, imagine how immature she was then and how things would actually, you know, her cognitive understanding of things. Just let that marinate.
Husband argue because he can't, you know, usually they say you can say something slick, but with you can't say that slickness.
You was on the Food Network's Chopped.
Yes.
And you won.
I did a couple times.
So what brings you more joy, winning in the ring or winning in the kitchen?
I just like to win, period. Definitely boxing is my first love, and, you know, cooking is something that I'm super passionate about.
Gotcha.
It'll be a part of my life forever. I'm not somebody who sits back and complains about things. You know, I think everything happens.
Yeah, let's move up. I want to see the part where Claressa basically says or misinterprets this entire interview.
Like, I actually call her my big sis, but it was so many shots thrown. Like, if y'all really paid attention, you know, her saying, oh, there's not nobody good enough at 168, my weight class, that could give her a challenge when I'm the number 1 in my weight class.
She didn't even mention a weight class in that interview. She just said if she were to come back, at least that clip that she showed, I didn't see her say 168 specifically, right? Basically, they were asking her, is she thinking about coming back? And she said, I just don't think there's anybody that can give me a challenge. She's not talking about you, Claressa. You're a young girl, right? That essentially you're starting off your career. This is what, 2018, possibly 2017? You just started your career, bro. You started your career in 2016. She's not fucking thinking about you. You're more of a person she mentors, bro. Mr. Miyagi did not fight Danielson, motherfucker. She's not thinking about you, son. She's talking about other fighters, other veterans. She was probably talking about the champions. I don't recall if Claressa Shields was a champion at 168 at that time. Maybe she was, but she's probably talking about the more veteran champions around, in and around 168. If Claressa Shields was the only champion at 168 at that time, I'm not looking at it, but I believe she was unified. I believe 2 other girls had belts. She would have been talking about them. She would have been talking about whoever was champion at 175. And if she could get down to 160, she was probably champion, thinking about champion there. right? So, and which at that time was Christina Hammer. So she wasn't talking about you, man. Now I know that Claressa, obviously, as I just mentioned earlier in this video, she went down to 160, fought Christina Hammer for all her belts. I don't know if that happened at this time or if it was after this. I don't know. But the point is, with her thinking of Claressa Shields as a girl that she's mentoring, she's not trying to steal your shine, bro. That comment had nothing to do with you, but you misinterpret it, much like when we had our interview right before or right after you fought Femke Hermans. I can't remember if it was one or the other, but it was definitely before you fought Christina Hammer. And I said you were the unified champion at 160, and you thought I said undisputed. And I had to tell you, I said unified, meaning you have two belts. You don't have all four of the belts. And then after I had to explain myself, then she was like, oh, yeah. Just completely misunderstood what I said. Then I had to tell her, I know my boxing, Miss Shields. I said it like that. So even with me talking and clearly saying unified champion, she still misunderstood it. That interview was back in 2018.
And, I'm just like, nah. And, I just feel like, she gave props where it's due, but, she also spoke on how, what I'm doing for women's boxing is great, but it's not great enough for her. When it's like, we got two different goals and sets in life. Me winning 2 Olympic gold medals is just the beginning. Even when she was boxing, she never fought on Showtime, HBO. I fought the main event on Show.
Women's boxing back then was not that big, right? Christy Martin had to be on Mike Tyson's undercard, right? And that was because Mike Tyson and his team just took a liking to Christy Martin because she was like the Arturo Gatti, so to speak, of women's boxing. She'd go out there, get in wars, bleeding all over the place, right? A lot of Laila Ali's fights were nowhere near as exciting as a Christy Martin, right? Because Laila Ali really wasn't getting her ass beat in the process. It was more so of Laila Ali dominating a whole bunch of different women. And Christy Martin was one of those people. Laila Ali dominated her, right? And that was the whole reason why people wanted to see Laila Ali fight Ann Wolfe. That's why people wanted to see that shit, because Ann Wolfe was destroying bitches at that time. Laila Ali was destroying bitches at that time. So let's get two destroyers in the ring. They both fight at 175 and 168. They were going back and forth together. At some point, let's get them in the ring and get them to fight. It didn't happen. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on why that didn't happen a little bit later. But at the end of the day, with her saying, comparing what she's done in women's boxing today versus what Laila Ali did back then, there wasn't a rise in women's boxing at all. We didn't have social media like that. I think we fucking had maybe MySpace or something like that at the time. So social media helps with the rise of women boxing. It basically, it's instrumental in helping with the rise in women's boxing. You didn't have a lot of different promoters that were helping promote the sport like that. It was really just who are the more exciting fighters that we can put on a top men's undercard and help promote that way. That's pretty much all they were doing. They weren't even going for undisputed back then. If you guys, some of my older heads that watched women's boxing back then, they weren't even going for undisputed like that, man. Like they weren't tracking the WBC, WBO, IBF, and WBA titles as an undisputed champion. They had some shit like WIBA and WIBF, right? They had some different titles that they were running with as part of the women's organizations. So, I mean, it was a completely different sport back then.
I don't know how many times now, fastest woman to win a world title. I did it in 4 fights. And yeah, you can say, oh, the competition isn't there and this girl wasn't that. But like I did it up in 4 fights, and so the girls that Laila Ali fought wasn't that great either. I mean, like, I'm the best female boxer that I've ever seen. And, if Laila Ali wants to come back, we can rumble. We can go. This is not like, oh, I'm going to step away. I respect her and everything, but,
This is what I hate about the younger generation, man. And I'm talking to you, Gen Z niggas, bro. You guys, your generation has problem with respecting those that come before you. You know what I'm saying? And you see a lot of that in the NBA, a lot of Gen Z niggas running around. You got, Michael Jordan, was whack, couldn't go left, and all this other shit. We got that stupid ass. We done with the '90s bullshit going on, right? And my generation, which was right before that, we didn't do that. We didn't do that to the generation before us. You know, growing up in the '90s and the early 2000s, I wasn't going around, or people in my generation weren't going around saying fuck the '80s, fuck Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, even going into boxing, you know, fuck Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, fuck all them niggas, bro. You know, it's about Roy Jones Jr., James Toney right now. We weren't doing that, bro. You know, forget Larry Holmes. It's all about Mike Tyson. You see Mike Tyson knock that nigga out, right? Knock that nigga out. And Mike Tyson's a nigga. Yeah. This generation of heavyweights is the best. We weren't doing that. You know, Larry Holmes didn't really have no jab. It was fake. It was CGI, right? We didn't do nothing like that. It's Gen Z. Gen Z niggas is doing that. The YNs are doing that. She's a part of that generation, bro. And this is why she has no problem. And inside of her misinterpreting what Laila Ali was saying on that interview, she has no problem disrespecting a great that came before her. It's literally what their generation does.
Oh, you're not gonna come back and beat me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this can happen. You know, I just don't like the disrespect. And this is my last video too about this. You know, I never used her name to try to be like, you know, try to call her out of retirement. It's basically like she talking about she come out of retirement. She just gonna beat me if she decided to.
Now, of course, I didn't respond to this, but I noted it. For someone who hardly had any experience as a professional boxer and who was supposedly looking up to me, for her to think that I would even call her name in a conversation about me fighting or making a comeback was silly to me.
Exactly. She just said what I said earlier, right? Claressa Shields didn't have much experience. What would Laila Ali get out of coming back at 40 years old, trying to destroy a career that really hadn't even gotten started like that yet, right? Like, it was easy to grab a belt at 168 in like your first 3 fucking fights because nobody was there. I want to say the titles are vacant. You know what I'm saying? I know when she did that undisputed run at 154, 2 of them fucking titles she got were vacant, right? But that's either here nor there. I ain't even gonna go into that. We're gonna save a video for that. I already got that on the list. That's already ready, right? But this is what I'm saying. There's no reason for someone like Laila Ali, who's already well established, a multi-division champion whenever she fought, to want to call out Claressa Shields, who had just started her career. That would be disingenuous of her to want to destroy that girl's career before it really even kicked off, man. So I 100% don't believe she was talking about Claressa Shields when she said there wouldn't be anybody who gives me a challenge right now.
Especially since I had literally told her that I retired from boxing because I didn't feel inspired or challenged anymore by the level of competition that was available to me. We had that talk. So I learned a lot about her character and her mindset. She took what I said out of context and made it all about her. I decided I was no longer going to invest time or energy into her. But she, on the other hand, she took it straight to social media, started comparing her boxing skills to mine, making negative comments about me, and pitting herself against me in a fight. A year later, I was doing press for my show Homemade Simple on OWN, so I went on Sway Universe, another syndicated national show with millions of listeners. We were talking, he asked me about boxing, he asked me about her, I said positive comments as usual, then he plays one of her visits.
Are you watching women's boxing today?
Oh yeah.
You like Claressa?
I do. I think.
Now at this point, I feel like Laila Ali, the competitive nature that's in her as an athlete, had her responding in this manner. You know what I'm saying? And that's the fire that you see in this. I mean, look at her face right here, dog. Like, she looked like she's already fucking agitated, even though she says good things about Claressa Shields in her comment.
That she's a talented fighter, and she has the opportunity right now. The stage is set, you know, so now she just has to kind of do her thing. I
talk about Homemade Simple, airing Saturdays 9 a.m. on the OWN network. Okay, it's an incredible show. I had Claressa here, right? I asked her who does she think will win and you against you in your prime and her now. And this is what she said.
She not cut like me. She don't take the challenges. Like, she didn't fight against Ann Wolf. I fight against the best and beat the best. And if Laila Ali was to come out of retirement, I beat her too.
That's not anything I haven't heard before. First of all, she's supposed to feel like she's the greatest.
Absolutely.
But just because you think you are doesn't mean you are.
Okay.
I like to support and uplift people, and I think that on your way up, just do your best not to disparage those that have come before you. First of all, she could never beat me.
Okay.
Let me just get that straight.
So this part right here, I feel like Laila Ali should have just left it alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, she doing Claressa Shields shit. She doing her rat community shit, dog. Let her talk her shit. You know what I'm saying? It means nothing to you. You're already well accomplished. You're a businesswoman. You're a mother. You've already done those things. You've already done them, and you are currently doing them, and you're doing them successfully. There's no reason to even talk about what you would do to Claressa Shields if y'all had fought, right? I understand where she's coming from, though, right? Because she saw that Claressa Shields, or she heard anyway, in that clip that Claressa Shields had a lot of vitriol towards her. So she's trying to reciprocate that. But in my opinion, and I'm that type of nigga too, like, I'm going to reciprocate vitriol if you have it towards me. But in some cases, and this is the case here, it's literally a little kid who's supposed to be a grown woman, but she still has the mentality of a 14-year-old little girl versus a grown-ass woman that is doing grown-ass woman shit. I would have just been like, she's a great fighter. I ain't even going to talk about what I would do to her in the ring. That's irrelevant right now. I just hope for the best for her and left it at that.
You want to get that straight, Laila?
Let's get that straight right now.
Okay.
And not simply because she's not strong enough, okay, because I would definitely knock her out, but because she's not talented enough to beat me. It's a sweet science to.
And she's very talented enough. And real talk, if you ask me, in their primes, who would beat who, I do have Claressa Shields beating Laila Ali in their primes, right? Laila Ali had a lot of holes in her defense. So she would have rocked Claressa Shields, in my opinion, just like Hannah Gabriels did in that first round, knocked her down and shit. I feel like it would have been more of a decisive situation where Claressa Shields is injured or, rocked in that fight. But I think that her athleticism, her boxing ability, her ability to work behind that jab and keep distance or create space to stay away from Laila Ali, I think that would have been enough for her to win the fight, probably a split decision. Now, if we talking about Ann Wolf, totally different situation.
Boxing, the reason why you have not been able to knock out the opponents that you've already faced, I can totally see it. Why?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if you would have been a little more respectful, and I'm not talking about thinking you can beat me and call that, do all that. I'm talking about just trying to, she didn't do this, she didn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't respect her as a boxer. I only respect her as a businesswoman. I've heard her say that before. I was always there for her because she's a young black girl from Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, Flint.
And I want to help uplift her because that's the Ali way.
Mm-hmm.
I am successful in so many areas outside of boxing. Boxing is not what defines me. There's always going to be another girl.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, when I offered her to spar me, that definitely was a check right there to see. Let me see what kind of heart she has. You should come whoop me just for bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't take.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell y'all, a lot of motherfuckers is going to take that as a slight. That's boxing, man. So even when you go to the gym for the first time and you're in there putting in work, people are watching. You know what I'm saying? The gym is a truth teller. Basically, they want to see what you really got. Everybody wants a piece of you, especially if you're good. Let's say you work in the heavy bag and you're rocking that motherfucking and not knocking it everywhere, and people see that you got a lot of power in both your hands. They're not afraid of you in the gym. They want a piece of you. They want to see what you can do with that power against them. Can that be effective if I'm doing my style versus your style? Can you hurt me? Can I take those shots, right? So what she said in terms of, she wanted to check her heart to see if, if she wanted to spar her, that's just typical gym shit right there, bro. That's typical boxing shit. All boxers can attest to that, man. So that's not a slight. She was just saying, hey, where's your heart at? Would you spar a motherfucker like me?
Pick me up on that offer. I said, okay. And let's put this in context. I'm only talking about this because you're asking me.
She's done a ton of interviews since then, and she's always saying I disrespected her. Now you've seen what she's been referring to. So she felt justified to go on a tirade, and of course, she's twisted the story over the years and taken my comments out of context. Now, according to her, I just started talking about knocking her out, just out of jealousy. Now you've seen what I said, what she said, how this started, and you can see she pitted herself against me in a fight. Now, I know some of this younger generation may not be familiar with me, but I've never been one to just talk about things I can't do. When I said that I would knock her out back in 2019, it wasn't any different than what I've said to anyone who's challenged me in the past. You can go.
That's true, but at the end of the day, you know, like I said, Claressa Shields has the mind of a 14-year-old girl. Back then it was 14. Today it's probably 16. 7, 8 years later, she done moved up 2 fucking years. Still highly immature. So at the end of the day, you already know, like, she misinterpreted your Breakfast Club interview. She's gonna misinterpret what you're saying there. It doesn't matter that in the boxing world, we say that we're better than somebody or we're better than somebody else. Hell, Claressa Shields is doing the same thing to you, and you're taking it, as, hey, you're supposed to think that way. But that's because you're fucking mature. She's not. She's immature. So just the fact that you say you could beat her, she's gonna take that as a slight. She's gonna be offended by that because in her mind, nobody can beat her, but she wants everybody else to think the same way.
Back and look at tape on me. That was not just talk for me. It's what I did. TKO, KO, it didn't matter. I was gonna stop you. It wasn't going to a decision.
And you see how she is right there? Like, she was a good puncher, big time puncher. But she's slow, right? You see she's flat-footed here. I think Claressa Shields would have took advantage of that. Like I said, she would have got caught by some of them shots. Claressa has a problem with banging. That's something that John David Jackson has been trying to get out of her ass ever since she became pro. And that's just something that he can't take out of her. I think Claressa even gave an interview saying that, John David Jackson tells me to box all the time, but man, I just want to go in there and bang. That right there would get her in trouble. Actually, if you really think about it, if you want to go the other way, that could be a situation in which Claressa Shields end up losing that fight because she would have a lot of emotion in a fight like this, trying to bang with Laila Ali, fuck around, get caught too many times, and lose on points. I don't think you would knock Claressa Shields out. I think she has too much pride in who she is and where she comes from to get knocked out. It's that hard will, determination that I always talk about when it comes to fighters, man, and guys that just don't get knocked out. I think Claressa would be one of those people. So she might go down a couple of times, end up losing off of points. But at the end of the day, I think John David Jackson would get into her mind, into her head, and say, hey, box this motherfucker more. You're losing every time you try to bang with her. And that's what will happen.
And if you didn't belong in there with me, I was going to get you out of there. That's just facts. That's not disrespect. That's boxing talk. Back then in 2020, I did get to a point where I was ready to get back in the ring and show her why, even though she is talented. I said it back then and I'm saying it now, but she could never outbox me. High-level promoters did reach out to me directly, and we had some serious conversations about me making a comeback. Now, of course, she was never even involved in any of those discussions. Then COVID happened. You know how that was, and it all went away.
I'm glad it didn't work out. I don't want to see Laila Ali at 40-plus years old trying to fight at that time probably a 25, 24-year-old female fighter in her prime. I was not ever interested in that fight. I don't give a fuck how much money was going to be on the line. They're not lining my pockets with the money, so I don't give a fuck about that. But for Laila Ali to say that she would have came out here and fought her pre-2020, nah, man, that's not interested in that, man.
And I left it alone. Now here is just a small glimpse of the narrative that she's been building over the years.
But I feel like Laila Ali has always been kind of envious of me. I'm just so accomplished. And
Yo, hold on. Let me finish this.
Women's boxing, and she never got that due diligence and that respect. So to see me getting it kind of pisses her off. So you look at who she fought. Her biggest test was freaking Vonda Ward and Christy Martin. And Christy Martin weighed in at 140 pounds, and Laila Ali was 160. Like, how are you making matches like that?
Why would she be jealous of you specifically, right? Like, you coming into boxing, your accolades were not that much better than Katie Taylor's, right? Katie Taylor came in on the fast track and fought better competition than you did, right? And was beating that competition all the way up until she fought Chantel Cameron the first time. So why would Katie Taylor, in my opinion, right, in terms of how she was moved, would be somebody to be more jealous of than you, right? Because Katie, or let me say envious of, because Katie Taylor is a white woman that has a whole fucking country behind her, right? So she could have easily surpassed Laila Ali as one of the greatest fighters of all time because she had the backing, she had the right complexion, and she was fighting stiff competition, stiffer than Laila Ali's. So that would be the one that she would be more envious of. And you see in the past and on social media and you know different videos, she's praising Katie Taylor. She's never had a problem with Katie Taylor. So why would she be envious of you when you're just another you're a black woman like her, you fight well like she did, you're coming out with 2 gold medals in which she helped promote you earlier before you became a professional fighter, right? Why would she promote you as an Olympic gold medalist and then turn around and be envious of you after doing that promotion? That makes no fucking sense. See, right now, Clarissa's just running her fucking mouth because what's happening is the people in her circle, whether it's her immediate circle or she's been on social media listening to people, right? Her hardcore fan base telling her she's this, she's that, and the third, and basically twisting what Laila Ali has been saying and making it seem like it's a slight or it's an offense to her, and she's running with that. I could see that 100% because of her immaturity, man. And look what the shit that she's turning it into is 1,000,000% untrue.
So Laila Ali is a hater. That's it. Nothing but her being a hater and her being, envious of my success.
Oh man, that sounds just like people going on her fucking X. At the time it would have been Twitter, and basically telling her, yeah, man, Laila Ali, listen to this interview, break this interview down, Claressa. Look what she said. You know what I'm saying? She basically envious and jealous that you a two-time Olympic gold medalist. And she even said, I never even fought in the amateurs, right? She couldn't even get in the amateurs because they didn't even have women's boxing in the Olympics. But she sees that they got it when you coming up, and she mad at that, right? Man, look, Claressa, you became a unified champion within your first 3 fights or 5 fights. Man, she couldn't even do that, dog. Look, Claressa, you a undisputed champion when you beat Christina Hammer. That was like your 8th fight or something like that. Man, she ain't never do nothing that fast. Matter of fact, she ain't never been undisputed, Claressa. Yeah, she fucking jealous. That's what this sounds like. Her response sounds like she literally heard other people or read other people saying shit like that to her, and it got into her fucking head. None of this is true.
And what I've done for women's boxing. And she feels like she deserves that credit because everybody kind of give it to me now. And I think that she's like, but, I'm an Ali daughter and I boxed before her and I'm 24-0 with 21 knockouts. And she kind of, want people to.
I've never heard Laila Ali say in a way to discredit Claressa Shields, I'm Muhammad Ali's daughter. I boxed way before her. I'm 24-0. I've never heard her say that in a way to discredit Claressa Shields and the accolades that she has achieved. Never heard her say that. She may have said that in response to you in terms of you challenging her. That's a possibility. But she's not saying that to discredit you as an accomplished boxer. She's never said it in that way. Never heard it. But you're interpreting it that way. You're not even interpreting it. You're making that shit up because people are in your fucking ear. And when that happens, you basically brainwash yourself, right? Based on the information that you're receiving, you brainwash yourself into believing one thing when the truth is something else.
Keep acknowledging her.
She's retired. She's retired. She's
probably
retired for
43.
43.
I hate when somebody else try to take somebody else's shine, somebody else's attention. It's like she's, nobody was trying to take her attention when it was her time. Undisputed champion. She's never been undisputed. And people are comparing me to her. And she gets
She's never been undisputed because undisputed wasn't a fucking thing back then. Nobody was checking for undisputed champion in women's boxing back then. In the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and before that, nobody cared about undisputed champion in women's boxing. Like I said earlier in this video, the WBA, WBC, WBO, and IBF were not titles that were actually administered, if you will, on a basis of, hey, if you collect all 4 of these, right, you will be undisputed champion. Actually, the WBO, even in men's boxing, didn't even become a major sanctioning body until 2007, I believe. So, I mean, this I think Laila Ali fought her last fight around that time. So she didn't become undisputed because it wasn't a big fucking thing. Didn't matter back then.
Offended when it was like, to me, I thought it was a good comparison because I feel like I box way better than her, and for them to be saying that me and her are equal or whatever, she should have been happy because of that, because they're giving her more props on her skills, which I feel like she didn't really have that much. But you know, whatever.
Yeah, we had Laila Ali, respect, but she can't do for women's boxing what I'm doing.
I'm gonna be different because I'm gonna give my blessing, or I'm gonna let a girl take her blessing. And what that means, I'm gonna fight the young girls coming up, and if they beat me, now they're the best. That's how you do it. My advice, Laila, is you will look a lot better, and people will stop calling you a hater and calling you jealous and old and bitter if you actually stop hating, bro.
Only people saying that are people that follow you, which are a bunch of rats and dumb motherfuckers that nobody really even pays attention to. The real boxing fans that understand this situation are not saying that about Laila Ali, that she's old and bitter. Nobody's saying that. That matters. When we go on your X and we see all these dumbass motherfuckers that follow you, yeah, they're saying that. Absolutely. The ones that say that, you know, if I were, or somebody else were to say that your resume is slim, they would immediately jump to your fucking to your aid and say, well, she's fought the best, when you clearly have not fought the best. Right now, what I'm saying to you in terms of you have not fought the best is you could have moved down in weight. You've even said that you could make 147. If you were able to make 147, that would open up a whole new fucking door of the best fighters that could also meet you at that weight class. You fought the best that have been provided in slim weight divisions that you've been in. I think that Perkins chick was the best heavyweight. There's like 8 fucking heavyweights in the women's division, bro. You fought the best at 168, which was Christina Hammer. I mean, at 160, which was Christina Hammer, and the best at 168, which is Savannah Marshall. But when it's no longer those two, there's a major drop-off after that. There's a major drop-off. Femke Hermans, Hannah Rankin, right? Franchon Cruz is not a good fighter to me. There's drop-offs, major drop-offs. The Mexican chick you just fought in your last fight that you didn't even train for because you came into the ring fat. Major drop-offs in competition because where you are competing at, there's nobody that can match, bruh. So that's why when you were saying you should get to 147, and when Laila Ali gave you that advice early in your career that you should probably try to drop down to 148, that shit was facts. But what was your response? I don't want to lose my ass. Get the fuck out of here.
You will look better if you was to support the black girl from Flint who made it out the trenches to where she at now. You will look a lot better. She wants to try to make it still seem like she's somewhat relevant in women's boxing. When people give her props about how she built up women's boxing, and I just don't feel the same way. What really did you do for women's boxing? Like, you let it die. You let it die for 20 years, and then I had to come and put in all this extra work to get it to where it is now.
So in that so I'm going to respond to that part right there. She said, what did you do for women's boxing in the last 20 years? You let it die, right? So in my opinion, I think Laila Ali could have done more to help promote women's boxing. There's no doubt about that. I've always felt that way. Her and Ann Wolfe. Ann Wolfe kind of left and became a trainer. And you know, as most boxing fans know, she trained James Kirkland through his champion title runs, his ups and downs, right? So she kind of just dipped out, retired, and started doing her own thing as a trainer. Laila Ali retired, you know, said, I don't have the motivation to deal with boxing anymore. So now I'm in a second part of my life. I'm married, going to have kids. I'm going to be a mother. She was more so focused on things like that. And I don't knock her for that. But when Claressa Shields says that she didn't do enough to promote boxing, that she let it die, she's not wrong there, right? Now, she did show her face and she did show her support for the girls that were trying to keep it alive, like Amanda Serrano and Cecilia Brækhus back then. But at the end of the day, she did kind of walk away from boxing to a degree in which I feel like she could have done more. So I do agree with that. Now, when she does say, when she says that she had to put in all this work to get it to where it is, I'm not going to knock her for saying that she's putting in the work to get it to where it is, because part of that is for her to continue to be one of the best fighters in the world, right? Putting in the work physically and mentally to continue to stay consistent and showing that she's light years better than her competition. That's a lot of work, right? But in terms of on the business side and on the promotion side, it's easier for you because you have social media. Social media has helped you in your promotion of women's boxing, in terms of helping get the sport out there. You also have another girl named Katie Taylor who is helping do that as well. It's not just you. And that's the thing that you like to do. You like to make it all about you. Somebody says Terrence Crawford became a three-division undisputed champion. What did you do? Oh, I did that first. You see what I'm saying? When he became 2-division undisputed champion, I did that first. Amanda Serrano becomes undisputed, or somebody else does something. It's always Claressa Shields did this first, or Claressa Shields did that. It's always about you, and that's that immature mentality that you have, right? You'll figure it out probably 10 years from now when you get into your 40s. That's when you'll start figuring out how stupid you were looking now and prior to now, right? But at the end of the day, it's not just you. There's other girls that are doing this. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, their 3 fights have promoted the shit out of this sport. Their first one promoted the fuck out of it because it was a fight that kind of like Laila Ali and Ann Wolfe, right? In terms of people wanting to see the fight, it was one of those types of fights. It was a mega fight in the sport, right? Like yours and Savannah Marshall. To me, that was a mega fight in the sport. So they're helping right along with you. It ain't just you, bro.
I think that wasn't fair, and I don't think that she was as big as a pioneer in women's boxing as she thinks she was. Because I would never do that. I would pass the torch.
There are hundreds and hundreds of women who have participated in the sport of boxing over the years. They have all made a contribution in their own way. We don't need to argue over who's done more. That destructive crab in a barrel mentality is exactly what we don't need in the sport. Here she is on a recent podcast explaining how she's passing the torch and that she has created a blueprint for success, which she is now sharing with other female fighters. She says that the #1 thing they need to know is how to build their brand.
I actually promote a woman fighter, and I'm giving her all the jewels and stuff that I know so she can get her big paydays too. It's a blueprint now on how you make $1 million, even if you don't have the gold medals. The biggest blueprint is build your brand.
Oh, she must have forgot years ago she recorded this and said that I gave her the...
Guys, she literally just said the biggest blueprint is build your brand. That's not something that you coined. That is something that social media influencers have been saying since the rise of fucking social media. Whether it's Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anything, right? They've always said if you're trying to be successful and getting your face out there, people see who you are and you can make money just off of what you say and what you do. You have to build your brand. That's all she just said here. That's not anything new. It's not something that she came up with talking about some fucking blueprint. This is ridiculous, man.
Piece of advice that she is now referring to as the most valuable piece of information that you need to be successful. But supposedly I didn't support her and I didn't want to pass the torch.
Laila Ali told me to build my brand, a good brand.
Oh, candid camera. So she built the blueprint, build your brand. But then in this earlier interview, she said, Laila Ali told me build your brand. That's why you have receipts. This is why you keep receipts, because these receipts cannot be argued. You can't argue this shit. She can't come back and say, I didn't say that. It's right here.
in the brand that I want to represent and stand for. And she said, have good people behind me who I trust.
So this whole idea that she started about me being jealous because of her accolades and her surpassing me, do you realize that for years, fans have believed that there's so many fighters that are better than me? I mean, they have more titles than me. Multi-million-dollar fights are happening, more money than I ever made, more money than she's making. So I guess if I'm supposedly jealous of her, I must be hating on them too, right? Nope, I actually celebrate other women's success. I have relationships with those women. We have mutual respect. It's all love. She's
standing with the enemy right there. Alicia Baumgartner. I'm sure Claressa don't like that shit right there. One thing that you guys got to understand is I don't want to say each one of these women, but several of these women in these videos have had relationships with Claressa Shields, good ones, and they've turned sour since then, right? But it's not the case with Laila Ali. You know, when somebody says something about you, right, and it's just one person, you can basically say, you know, it's just that one person hating, and them motherfuckers is, you know, they just out here to get me, whatever, right? But when it's multiple people, you've got a lot of different people coming out saying that she's like this, she's like that. There may be something wrong with the source. And the source is Claressa Shields. I'm just saying.
Only one who decided to make herself my opposition. And she has created this drama and she's kept it going for the past 8 years. People came to know her because she kept calling out my name. She's obsessed with me and she literally cannot keep the name Laila Ali out her mouth. There are people who will say she's confident, she talks trash. That's what fighters do. Yes, fighters talk. Nobody did it better than my father and me, and we backed it up. I've never had a problem with a fighter saying they could beat me or that they think they're better than me. That's expected. I don't consider that disrespect. But what I do have a problem with is a liar or someone who intentionally tries to disparage me in order to gain visibility and respect. As I mentioned in my interview on Sway, about 8 years ago, I offered her sparring during one of our phone conversations. I was like 40-41. It was just to give her some work. Well, she changed that subject and never took me up on the sparring. So when I mentioned it on Sway, there was a lot of comments from the public because people were surprised that she wouldn't have taken that opportunity. Now, can you imagine if she and I were to get in the ring and spar back then? You know, there would have been camera phones, it would have been recorded. She would have proof of what she could do and vice versa. So I guess after the feedback and comments that she saw, she felt the need to take it to social media and put out an excuse.
On Sway, that if I was so tough that I would have sparred her for brownie points. I am a 2-time Olympic champ. Only thing that matters to me is what happened outside of practice.
That's cap. That's cap. So you're saying that you won't spar her because you are a Olympic 2-time gold medalist or 2 division champion, whatever the fuck she said, right? So basically, do you use that for anyone that tries to spar you? So if you're getting ready for a fight and you need sparring to take place to prepare you for that fight, do you say, no, not them, because I'm a multi-division champion and I'm a multi-Olympic gold medalist? Do you say that for them? This makes no fucking sense. Now, it would make sense if you're saying, I'm not going to spar you. I want to fight you for money, right? If you said that, then that makes sense. But she didn't say that. She doesn't say that. She just says, I'm a 2-time champion. I'm a two-time gold medalist, whatever she said. Basically listed her accolade first as if that is some sort of flex to say you can't spar with me because I'm that. But instead, like I said, what would make sense is I'm that. These are my accolades. I'm not going to fight someone of your magnitude just in sparring. We need to fight for money. She didn't say that, though.
She talking about practice. Take the Ellen Iverson. Talking about practice. I don't care about sparring nobody. I'll get in there and spar and work with anybody. All I care about is fighting. But like I said, she don't really care about women's boxing.
So that was.
I'll get in there and work with anybody. All I care about is fighting. I'm an Olympic 2-time gold medalist, multi-division champion. Why would I talk about sparring? See how she contradicted herself in that same goddamn interview? If you'll get in and work with anybody, then that's what she's asking for. Let's get to work. She's still trying to mentor your stupid ass. At that time, anyway. At that time, when she asked for sparring. She asked for sparring because she's in there. Sparring is to get work in, bro. You're not in a fight to knock them out or anything like that. It's to get work in. So whenever this took place, she was still trying to give you tips as a mentor. Jeez, God damn.
Her response, why sparring? It doesn't mean anything. But many years later, she comes up with a whole new story.
And the thing is, she keeps saying, one time she asked me to spar. Let me tell you this. Jason Crutchfield was my eyes and my ears back then because I was naive. I don't pay attention to stuff. Jason had already told me back then she feels some type of way. Coming in, gold medals and doing your thing, he was like, she feels some type of way. But she's still embracing you though. And I said, okay, whatever. But I had mad love for her though. So it was like, the closest thing to Muhammad Ali is Laila Ali. So I love this girl, you know what I'm saying? And looked into her, took her advice and everything. He said, when we going down here, because she had appointed me to give Muhammad Ali the Liberty Medal in Philadelphia. Now that when she asked me to spar, I said, you want to spar me? And that's when it was more of like a, dang, I hate that coach was right about you. I'm like, okay, well, we can spar when you want to spar. I got my stuff in the car. She like, no, it ain't like that. I'm more about, let's not talk about it, let's be about it.
Now, you know that was a flat out lie. We know that if that were true, she would have said it years ago when it first was mentioned that she wouldn't spar me.
That's facts. You guys know Claressa Shields' character and who she is and how she moves, bro. No way that didn't take place, or that took place in that manner, and she just didn't say it back then. That's 1,000,000% cap, bro. She, knowing who she is and how she carries herself and how she, quote, builds her brand. She builds her brand mostly off of controversial shit, right? So basically kind of like Floyd Mayweather did to a degree. She would have 100% put this shit out there. Hey, this is what I said to Laila Ali, and she turned it down. Man, whatever, man.
There is absolutely no way she would have passed up the chance to tell everyone that she called my bluff and I backed down. Now, can you imagine if she and I were to get in the ring and spar back then? You know, there would have been camera phones, it would have been recorded. She would have proof of what she could do and vice versa. I did an interview with Andre for his podcast too, before I had a chance to see her episode. And if you go watch her interview, everything's I think this, somebody told me that, no facts. I need you to understand how deep this goes with this girl. Now I know she's
100% correct, and that's what I said in the earlier video. So people were in her ear, right? She even mentioned back then Jason Crutchfield was my eyes and ears because I was naive. You're still naive, but I digress. She even told you. She said that another person was basically out there finding shit, whether positive or negative, about her image, and allowed that person to do the interpretation. She literally what she's saying. He brings the information to her, right? And how the information is presented means everything. Now, I can't say that this Jason Crutchfield character presented information in a way that would cause Claressa Shields to have antipathy towards Laila Ali. But at the end of the day, based on how she's reacting in these earlier videos, and then she explicitly states that Jason Crutchfield was her eyes and ears, I'm assuming that's what he did. Hey, man, Laila out here talking on your name, dog. This is what she said. There's that. And then, of course, like I said, social media. You see the people that follow her and you see what they say all the fucking time. If you just go on her X, things that they say, bro. Just clear bullshit that Claressa Shields spews or puts out there, and they 100% accept it and support it, man. So I 1,000,000% would believe that they would go on there and say some bullshit about Laila Ali to basically get Claressa Shields fired up.
Constant search for validation. She needs to feel important, and it's obvious she's fixated on me. But watch how she sits on The Breakfast Club, the same show she saw me on back in 2018 when I said I wasn't making a comeback. She goes on in 2020 after dragging my name for years and acts like she has no idea why I no longer support her or want anything to do with her. Now, she knows The Breakfast Club is a national show with millions of listeners, so she's careful not to say anything negative about me because that wouldn't fit the story she's trying to sell. Instead, she plays it safe so she can position herself as the victim.
Do I want to fight a 41 or 40-year-old Laila Ali? No. I want to actually her embrace me, I embrace her, and we build women's boxing to the place where it's supposed to be at. But I don't think she sees that vision. Like she doesn't show me any kind of support.
Totally different. Stark contrast to what she's been saying previously, right? Do I want to fight a 40, 41-year-old woman? No. But in the interview where she's in, or at least the video she made where she's in her car after she heard Layla's Breakfast Club interview, she's saying, you come back, we can rumble. That's what I'm saying. When people are fucking lying to you, their stories are never consistent. She's been caught just literally on this video here that I'm showing you contradicting herself multiple times, man. She's lying to you guys.
Like I see her all the time comment on this other boxer girl page, Katie Taylor, and always telling her congrats and everything. But then with me, it's like she don't show any kind of respect or acknowledgement. And I'm a black girl just like she is, who came up hard, and I have to been making my way forever. Like I made my own way. I wasn't handed anything. Just about supporting each other. You know what I'm saying? But
I wonder why she wouldn't though. Like, did you say something about her back in the day?
I just think that in boxing, she feel like she never got her fair share.
I just think. It's what she said, right? I just think. So Charlemagne asked her a legitimate question. Why wouldn't she support you? I mean, did you say something about her back in the day? And her response is, I just think. Doesn't matter after that. Doesn't matter what she says after those words, because it's 1,000,000% speculation at that point. She has no factual data that states or that would support that Laila Ali has a problem with her. There's no factual evidence. She's saying, I just think. So that tells me possibly this Jason Crutchfield character, who's her eyes and ears, and other people in her circle and social media has her just thinking.
I feel like she never got to the point where she wanted to get to, and people recognize Laila Ali, but they always try to say like, oh, she only was big because of her dad, and they don't really give her props on her skills.
I've never heard anybody say that. I've never heard anybody say Laila Ali was just big because of her dad. Now, people that follow you might be saying that. I've never heard, as much boxing as I've covered for fucking decades, right? I've never heard anybody that I've dealt with, professional fighters, professional trainers, promoters, fans of the sport, boxing participants, anybody say that Laila Ali is only big because of her father. Because Laila Ali is documented, bro. If you followed boxing at all and you watched women's boxing back in the day, or if you followed women's boxing back in the day as much as you could follow, you knew that Laila Ali and Ann Wolfe, right? Lucia Riker, Mia St. John, Christy Martin, those were some of the biggest names in women's boxing back then. She doesn't get that because her dad's name is Muhammad Ali. Her fucking record is on the internet. Her fights are on the internet. So anybody saying that are people who did not follow women's boxing or have no idea about women's boxing when Laila Ali was fucking active.
One of those people. And then some people say that she didn't fight Ann Wolfe, but
me being a woman fighter, now I realize that it's hard to make big fights with other big women. It really is. So think about it. Back then, when it wasn't a lot of money, wasn't TV exposure, I kind of can see why her and Ann Wolf didn't fight. But people's story is that she was scared of Ann Wolf, and Ann Wolf would have knocked her out. And that's their story.
3 months later, she takes her mask off and she's back to her usual story.
Now I agree with this part that's about to come up, man. And Wolf, man.
Story.
Well, Ann Wolf, you were a better fighter than her, and I believe that that's where this whole beef started from. That I spoke on that. She hate whenever your name gets mentioned. She still to this day mentions your name. Say how you were scared of her, how you didn't want to fight her. And I don't believe that for 1 second. And she may have a bigger name, but that's because women's boxing wasn't supported how we are now. If Laila Ali came up in this generation, she would not be known. Nobody would know of her.
That's cap. People would know her even more now, idiot, because it's social media. What the fuck you mean if she came up in this generation, nobody would know her when you have social media at your fucking fingertips? And you even said in the clip right before this that people say that they only know her because of her dad. So she at least has her foot in the door of extreme popularity with that, according to you. So if her dad is Muhammad Ali, she's already going to be extremely popular, according to you. And she has social media at her fingertips. She would be more popular than you, sir.
I know for a fact you would have put Laila Ali ass to sleep. So just because you couldn't do it, you didn't have the opportunity because, she didn't want to sign a paper to fight you. I'm letting you know now. I'm going to kick her ass for the both of us. Yeah, we all know Laila Dudley and Wolf. We know that. We don't got to. She know that. Everybody know that.
You going to kick a 40-plus-year-old woman's ass for you and her. So that makes you feel good, right? 30 years old, right? And I don't know when that fucking interview was. Let's just say because all of this is spanning between 2017, 2018 to today. So we'll go ahead and say between 24 years old to now, right? You're saying that you're going to kick a 40-plus-year-old woman's ass for you and Ann Wolf. That sounds stupid as fuck, man. A 40-plus-year-old woman, by the way, who's been out of boxing for over a decade. That shit sounds stupid as fuck. And only your rap fans would think that is cool. Nobody supports that is not a rap fan of Claressa Shields. No niggas in my circle support that. No motherfuckers I talk to support that. But the ones that support Claressa Shields unconditionally, yeah, they think that's cool. They like that.
It's literally written, I think, somewhere.
Now, I've seen this before with Ann Wolf, another fighter who used the same playbook. Both of these women have a lot in common in terms of the way.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead of this one, Laila, because I don't know what receipts you saying you got. You know what I'm saying? But you ducked Ann Wolf. Ann Wolf has her own receipts on you, calling you out multiple times throughout y'all's careers, man. And it just was never the right time. We'll just put it that way. Back then, we didn't have social media like that where all of this would have been plastered in front of the entire world for everyone to see and go back on, right? So I'm interested to see what kind of receipts she has on this. But I know I've seen interviews with Ann Wolf back then where she's been calling you the fuck out, bro. She's chasing you between two divisions, 168, 175. And for some reason, that fight didn't happen. And you did not have the same aggressiveness and wanting to fight Ann Wolf. That's how I remember that. So I've always maintained that Laila Ali ducked Ann Wolf. And rightfully so. That's a real nigga right there, bro.
They've been able to get visibility for themselves by using my name and making up lies. Since I'm in the season of pulling skirts, I'm gonna go ahead and pull hers too, and I'm gonna do another.
Yeah, let me. You know what I'm saying? That this is out of scope.
This one is so detached and delusional that she actually praises my father while trying to trash his daughter.
Yeah, we had Laila Ali, but she can't do for women's boxing what I'm doing. Because I kind of feel like God wants me to be like the next Muhammad Ali. Because I kind of feel like God wants me to be like the next Muhammad Ali. I think it's Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, me.
The hell? Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, me. Floyd Mayweather is not even directly under Muhammad Ali. Like Floyd Mayweather tell you he's over Muhammad Ali, but boxing enthusiasts understand that Floyd Mayweather is not right under Muhammad Ali and the greatest fighters of all time. You're definitely not under either one of those, directly under anyway, either one of those as the greatest fighter of all time. Since you're mixing male and female, you're not even the greatest fighter in this era, male or female. I'm talking male or female in the same pool. As a female, yes, you have an argument as the greatest fighter of this era. It's between you and Katie Taylor, 100%, right? But when you're putting males in the same pool as you, both you and Katie Taylor fall down that goddamn list, but way down. So putting yourself in an all-time list with Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali is ridiculous. It's out of control. You know what I'm saying? And then Sugar Ray Robinson wasn't even mentioned. Whatever. We'll move on.
That's it. Learn from Muhammad Ali. If you don't validate yourself first, nobody else ever will. You know, if she wants to be like in the public and keep her name tied to mine because I'm young and popping. Right now, it's my time. And she wants to keep her name connected to mine. Listen, Muhammad.
Why the fuck does she need to have her name connected to yours? Like what? She's already built her own image outside of boxing. Like that cooking thing that she's doing, that shit popped off, dog. Why the fuck does she need Claressa Shields to help her image? Why? She's not even, boxing is not anything that she wants to do. That's why she's always like, I'm coming back, I'm not, I'm coming back, I'm not. She's using boxing to stay in shape. That's all she does, which is what she was doing when she was a professional fighter. Just, you know, basically the same type of workouts probably is what's keeping her in shape today. So boxing's not even something she's trying to do. Why would she need to use your name to stay relevant? Relevant in what? She's not looking for fame. Because if that was the case, she would have used Cecilia Brækhus' name. She would have used Amanda Serrano's name before you and Katie Taylor got on the scene. Hell, she would have used Katie Taylor's name. That probably would have worked out better for her. The fuck is she going to use your name for?
Ali would never. Her daddy would never. Her daddy would never. Maybe she don't have that in her genes.
Now, what father would embrace someone like her or want to be associated with someone like her while she's trying to tear down his very own child? My father was the greatest of all time because not only did he have a beautiful, one-of-a-kind style in the ring, he was also a remarkable individual outside of it. He used his platform to uplift and inspire people. He carried himself with integrity, kindness, and grace. He was someone our community.
That's a dope ass commercial. I don't like how Laila Ali rocked him at the end of that, but you know, but that's a dope commercial.
Could be proud of, and he represented us well. You know what my father would say? She's a generic wannabe. My father would not want to share his name or image with her. She does not represent anything about him in the ring or outside of the ring. Now, many of us, including myself, had high hopes for her. I supported her. I sent her off.
Now, and that statement right there, nobody can argue that. Now, Claressa Shields fans will probably try to argue that or probably try to say that that's cap or whatever. You can't argue that because that's her fucking dad. She knows her dad better than you would or Claressa Shields would, right? So if she's saying that her father would not support Claressa Shields, would not want his name to have anything to do with her, I'm inclined to believe that because that's her fucking father, right? Now, if you don't want to believe it in that way, just look at as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the stark contrast between their two characters. You got Claressa Shields and you got Laila Ali. They were raised totally different. Laila Ali acts nothing or acted nothing like Claressa Shields did when she was younger, right? Laila Ali is more of a traditional woman, whereas Claressa Shields has adopted the more modern woman way of life. So you didn't hear about Laila Ali with multiple men. You didn't hear about Laila Ali twerking. You didn't hear about Laila Ali out in public talking trash. And I'm talking trash like fuck this nigga and fuck that nigga. You didn't hear Laila Ali basically calling out men, even though she saw herself as the greatest female boxer ever at the time. None of that happened because she was more of a classy, traditional woman, right? And whereas Claressa Shields, you see all of those things that I mentioned, Laila Ali does not do. It's all about upbringing and how you were raised. The way that Laila Ali carries herself is a direct reflection of how Muhammad Ali raised her, bruh. So if that's the case, I agree with her that he probably wouldn't want to be associated with Claressa Shields.
Off in the right direction, but she has become a disappointment. She is a horrible representation of both the sport and our culture.
Beneficial. Fuck them if they win against you. You don't need some bitches with you. Her man ain't got no balls, so you know his dick little. Not them fake hoes, do it for the real women. I ain't fuck this nigga too.
Claressa Shields can't rap for shit, dog. This shit is cringy as hell when this motherfucker tries to get on the mic, dog. I can't stand hearing her voice when she tries to spit. She sound like a fucking teenage nigga that just learned how to rap, bro. This shit is horrid, bruh. Y'all need to get a trash can and put that shit in there. When you fucking record a new song on your computer, that shit needs to get moved directly to the fucking recycling bin, dog. This shit is garbage.
Yeah, still bitching. Girls who think they just so pretty and just because they born light skinned that they just all that. That they can come on people's shit talking shit. I look better than you. I look better than you, so you can get off my shit. Light skin, red bone. Yeah, get your funny looking ass up out of here. I don't play with these hoes.
So that shit right there, I'm gonna touch on that because that's something that my wife goes through, right? So Claressa Shields is considered I wouldn't say she's a dark black woman, but she's not considered a light-skinned black woman, right? And for her to say things like that, I know exactly where that comes from. A lot of and it's horrible that is happening within the black community, within black women, right? Because what difference does it make if you're a light-skinned black woman or a dark-skinned black woman? Shouldn't fucking matter. But a lot of times there is that war or an issue between dark-skinned and light-skinned black women. And a lot of times, a lot of the dark-skinned black women have problems with light-skinned black women because they feel like men go for the lighter skin tone. They have a problem with that shit. My wife goes through that shit all the fucking time with darker skinned black women. And what she's saying right there, it literally reminds me, because she's saying light skin, red bone, as if that is a negative. She's spitting that at whoever she's talking to, whoever she has a problem with, as if that's a negative on that person, right? That tells me that she has a problem with light skin, red bone women. She's probably been brought up thinking that lighter skin and red bone women are naturally prettier than she is. That's probably her fucking problem, right? You see that problem with Lil Kim, right? She completely bleached her fucking skin. Now that took it a whole nother goddamn it took it to a whole nother spectrum. But the point is, even in her thought process, being white is right. Being white is better than being dark, right? Or darker, or having some sort of pigmentation. You see what I'm saying? A lot of women go through this in the black community, and that's a problem. And she just literally showed her ass and showed you guys that she's one of those darker skinned women that have a problem with lighter skinned black women. Ridiculous, man. Very immature. I think this is it. I'm gonna stop it right here. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man, one thing that you guys got to remember with Claressa Shields is every person, now I don't want to say every person, but a lot of people that she has started off with good relationships with, she ends up having a sour one not too much later. Alicia Baumgartner, right? You got Amanda Serrano, Cecilia Brækhus, Laila Ali. That's 4 people already. Now, there's a girl out there that apparently was her best friend at one time, and she's a boxer too, but she's not a professional boxer. But she, you know what I'm saying, she's done some amateur and shit like that. I don't know if she's professional or not actually, but she's not out there. She's not well known, and she used to live with Claressa Shields, and you know they had a relationship. She was there from the beginning, and she knows about all her different men and quote women that she messed with. I ain't gonna get into that, but at the end of the day, she's out here with a collection of videos trying to tell everybody Claressa Shields' character, who she really is. She's basically showing you guys one side, but she's really like this. You know what I'm saying? So I don't remember her name. Don't really care to remember her name because I don't get into shit like that. But I'm just saying for the purpose of this video, because it's in scope, that information is out there on her as well. Literally, there's a campaign out there from a female that has known Claressa for a while now and shared intimate things with Claressa Shields that is saying that her character is horrible. So you've got all these different examples out here, man. Like I said, when it becomes more than one person that is saying somewhat of the same shit about you, it might be the person's problem. All right, man. Y'all go ahead and go in the comments section. Tell me what you think about this. We'll be back with another one.